Welcome to the Investor Fuel Real Estate Investing Show, where I interview the nation's top real estate entrepreneurs, industry leaders, and other amazing entrepreneurs to help educate and inspire you to take your business and your life to the next level. My goal is to add tremendous value to you during every single episode of this show. If you get value, I'd love it if you subscribe on your favorite podcast player, subscribe on YouTube, and my very favorite, please share this with your community so we can impact even more entrepreneurs. Let's start today's show. Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. Today I'm here with my good friend and the one and only Mr. Joe McCall. We're going to be talking about flipping land and not houses. In fact, flipping dirt, not houses. And Joe's got a new book out as well.
What a great book.
I think I might have been the first purchase, or I raced to Amazon to get my copy because I want to support my good friend Joe. So, Joe, good to see you, buddy.
Thank you. Yeah, I got my first commission check from Amazon. It was like $500.
Oh, wow.
For all my book sales.
Yeah.
But yeah, I appreciate that. It's on Amazon Kindle, physical paperback, and Audible. So it's called Flip Dirt, Not Houses.
Are you the one that reads it?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay. That's cool. I'll have to hit you up on how to do all that because I aspire to write a book. One day. I've been threatening it for about 10 years and haven't done it yet.
I'll connect you with the guy that helped me, and he's really, really good. His name is Brian Elwood.
Oh, I know Brian.
Yeah, well, give him a call. If you need his cell phone number, I know
Brian. I haven't talked to him for a long time, but I know Brian. That's funny that
he's really good. He helped me with that book a lot, and got it on Kindle and Amazon and Audible. And
yeah, cool.
If anybody here is listening,
I need to catch up with them anyway. So, so I guess we should.
By the way, anybody listening, if you want to write a book, Google this guy. His name is Brian Elwood, and just maybe. He's got a book on Amazon on how to write books to sell your coaching, I think.
Okay.
But yeah, anyway. Yeah,
it's been a while, but I know Brian well. So, Joe, we're going to talk about flipping land today and houses, and you and I, we've both been in the game a long time and shared some war stories and talked about a lot of things. And you moved a few years ago into land. And I want to talk about that today. Hey, before we do, why don't you introduce yourself to, I'm talking to you like my old friend, like everybody knows you and a lot of people do. But for anybody that doesn't know you, tell us a little bit about the one and only Joe McCall.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it. So I got started doing real estate full-time in 2009, and I was flipping lease options at the time. I was a civil engineer working for an electrical contractor building a huge power plant. And I had the entrepreneur itch, man. I just didn't want to work for anybody else. After college, though, I did work for 2 or 3 different companies for 9 years, and I just got to get out of this. I really did feel like the riskiest thing I could do for me and my family was to stay working for one company. Because, I was one paycheck away from complete financial devastation, right? I could have gotten a job anywhere, but I would have had to been willing to move anywhere around the country, and I didn't want to do that. And so I saw the market collapsing in 2007 and 2008, and I kind of looked at it as like an opportunity. And I've always been, I think that's one of the things that separates entrepreneurs from people who aren't entrepreneurs, is seeing opportunities, right? And being optimistic, having some kind of faith. I think that's maybe in a good way, in a good thing. It could be a bad thing sometimes, but like I saw a huge opportunity. And so I started getting into the market and I started wholesaling. I got frustrated with wholesaling because it was so competitive. And that's kind of how I came into land as well. But I started doing lease options because at the time it was a lot easier to do creative financing deals. So I did a ton of lease options and quit my job. And then I discovered the education space where you can sell software, consulting, services, courses, and things like that, teaching people how to do what you're doing. And I've really loved that. I enjoy doing it. I love helping people, and I make good money helping people. So over the years, I just started doing a lot of different types of real estate, teaching people how to do real estate, started a podcast in 2011, started writing books, creating courses and selling software and done for you services and things like that. And I've been doing that ever since. About 5 years ago, I started doing vacant land. And I loved vacant land because I wanted to do something. My main reason for getting into land is I wanted to do something with my teenagers. At the time, they were like 13 and 14 years old. And I saw some friends doing land. I started interviewing people that were doing a lot of land deals. And I thought, you know what? I could take these systems that I built for houses and apply it to land. And I wanted to do it differently because I'm wanting my boys to do land. And if you think about it, my teenagers at the time, they're real smart kids, but I didn't want to throw them out to the wolves and try to train them on how to negotiate with a 70-year-old a homeowner who's been living in their house for 40 years, who's getting 5 other offers every day from other people, trying to get them to understand ARV and estimate repairs and learn how to negotiate with a person on the phone. So I remember talking to people and learning. There's a lot of different ways to flip land. I'm not the only one teaching it. There's a lot of other really good people that are teaching land. But I wanted to figure out a way to do vacant land without talking to people, so I could have my sons do land without talking to people. And so that's kind of started my journey. Yeah. So that's a long introduction to who I am.
Well, and Joe, you and I could talk all day long. What makes land easier in your mind, and like less, I guess there's less emotion tied to it. It's often like certainly not somebody's primary residence. Like what makes it easier to kind of negotiate a sale? That I know we're going to at some point talk about how to, let's not steal our thunder, but how to do deals without even talking to sellers. But what makes it easier, would you say?
Well, the biggest thing is they're just not emotionally attached. It's dirt. And they've owned it for 10 years. They've been out there once or twice. And we go after cheap land. So like we're buying land that's worth maybe 30 to 50 grand. We're buying it for 5 or 10 grand. So I like going after little base hits, singles and doubles. And they just don't, they bought the land 10 years ago. Maybe they inherited it from their parents. They've never been there. They think it's worthless. They just don't care about it anymore. And there's very little competition. So there's 2 big reasons why I love land. Number one, they're just not emotionally attached to it. They don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars in it. It's just a kind of a distant memory. They just don't want it anymore. They don't care about it anymore. So I buy land for like 35, 40 cents on the dollar very easily without having to negotiate because they don't care, right? I just make offers. I get 1 out of 30 offers accepted. And, that's how we do it. And I'll talk about that later. But the other reason is there's just very little competition when you compare it to houses. So when I was doing houses, we were lucky in some of our markets if we'd get half of 1% response rate on our direct mail. So if you send out a postcard, you're lucky if you get 5 phone calls from 1,000 postcards. If you send out 1,000 postcards with houses, if you get 5 calls back, that's amazing. But with land, we were getting 4 to 5 times that number of responses. So we would send out, 1,000 postcards and would get 20 calls, 20 to 30 calls sometimes. And so the cost per lead is cheaper. And so I like land for those reasons. And then,
And Joe, do you target, I know a lot of people target different things, but are you targeting, is this like recreational land? Is it infill lots in cities? Like, is it all the above? Like, how do you?
All the above. Yeah. So kind of depends on where we're going. So we do it 100% virtually. We never go see the property. So like I go in, and I brought this kind of over from houses. I want to go into where the fish are biting, right? Like it's really easy with public data to go in and even on Zillow and Redfin, and landwatch.com is another site I use. You just go see where is all the hot activity? Where are people buying and selling land right now in the last 90 days? So it doesn't matter what direction the market is going, up or down, flat, sideways. I don't care. I'm going to where the demand is. Where in the last 90 days are people buying land right now? And it's really easy to find that stuff online. And then I go to where the buyers are, and then I find, I pick maybe 3, 4, 5 states where there's a lot of activity. And then I go into maybe the top 10 counties in each of those states. I pick a couple counties, and then I drill down into the zip codes in those counties. And I see, all right, well, in this state, in this county, in this zip code, there is a lot of activity there. And then I just go in, all public records, right? And I go in and I pull people who own land for over 10 years that don't live in that area in those zip codes, and I send them postcards. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. Yeah. And probably the further away they live, the better, right?
Yeah. So you could do a search for like out of zip code, so they don't live in the zip code, or you could do out of county or out of state.
Yeah.
And so the further away they are, the more motivated likely they're going to be. But it's just a numbers game. That's what I love about it. Unlike houses, you have to work hard. There's a lot of competition. Obviously, you can make a lot of money doing houses. I know a lot of people that are still crushing it with houses, but I just like land so much better because there's not as much competition breathing down your neck, chasing these sellers. I don't have to like jump on the deal right away and send them an offer right away. I have usually 3 months of due diligence. Like with a house, you have to close in 30 days and you usually have a 1 or 2 week inspection window. But with land, we do 90 days. And you could buy these properties on a credit card if you wanted to, and then sell them if you wanted to. We usually sell them with realtors. We'll buy them, we'll take them down, and then we turn around and sell them with a realtor. But it's just so much easier to do that. And if you're using private money, it's way easier to find a private investor that has 5-10 grand to lend on a deal at 50% loan to value than it is to find a private investor that's got 150, 200 grand to lend on a house at 70 to 80% loan to value. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so it's easier to find private investors to work with.
Yeah, no doubt. So what percentage would you say is kind of recreational versus infill lots? I mean,
well, in Florida, it's probably 75 infill lots, 25% recreational land, right?
Okay.
In Texas, it's probably, depending on if you're going rural or suburbs.
Yeah.
In Texas, in the country, it's maybe 75% recreational land. But I have some friends that are wholesaling a lot of vacant land in Houston, and they're all infill lots, right? And it's obviously going to be more competitive in the city.
Sure.
But I prefer cheap land. I don't care. So when I'm looking at a county, I'm looking for which counties have a lot of recent solds under $100,000. So when I'm doing my searching and research, I'll say, show me the number of solds in the last 6 months under 100 grand. So I'm looking for cheap land. And if in that county, it's a lot of infill lots, well, then I pull a list of, 0.2 acres to 1 acres. If I'm in Tennessee or North Carolina and it's a lot of recreational land, I'm pulling a list from maybe 2 acres to 10 acres. Does that make sense?
You're getting me thinking, Joe, because obviously I've got my ranch in East Texas, and like I was thinking about, I don't even know who some of my neighbors are, and like, but if their land was for sale, I'd want to try to buy it. It's weird how I already have 104 acres out there. At City Slickers already. I don't know what I'm doing out there, but like the neighbor to the north is like I don't know. He's probably late 70s, and he told me he was going to sell. And my first thought was like, I got to buy it. Now he's got an expensive house on it. I don't even want the house. I just want the land. So that's probably not going to work out. But it's kind of funny, if you think of recreational, probably some of the best people are adjoining property owners that just want to like spread out. There's a thing about like, at least with me, I have land and I want more of it. I'm like this. I'm like, I'm like.
Well, we buy and sell a lot of landlocked properties. People are afraid of landlocked properties, but we sell them to the neighbors typically. And remember, what we do is we have 90 days to close. And so if we can't sell the deal, or if we don't already have a buyer lined up, we won't close on it. So we won't buy it. And so sometimes what we do is we get it under contract at the cheapest price we can. We get on the phone, we call the neighbors, we say, hey, do you want some land? And then we'll contact other investors who are buying land. And sometimes we'll have to go back to the seller and renegotiate a lower price. And we tell the seller what we're doing. They know. But then sometimes it's like, well, you know what? Nobody wants this, and we cancel the agreement. So we never buy a bad deal. I've never lost money on a deal.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So you talked about upfront about doing deals with your boys. And so this is something for people with younger kids that want to get them into the business, something that is a little bit easier to execute than all the emotions of a house and all the speed necessary with a house. Like, got to get out there right away before somebody else signs a contract. Got to sit down at the kitchen table with them and negotiate and try to build rapport. Like, that's not something that kids are going to do. So talk about, are there other folks that you know that you've kind of inspired to have their kids get in the business?
Yeah, I can think right now off the top of my head, maybe 3 or 4 different families. No, more than that. I don't know, 5 or 10 that have done deals with their kids. But this is how I kind of stumbled upon it. I took my kids to a workshop, a boot camp type of a thing. And I started just talking to some of the other people there that were already doing land deals. And one guy in particular was like, yeah, we just send out mail. We have them, okay, let me rewind a little bit. There's different ways that people approach land. Some people will make blind offers. So they'll get a list of 1,000 people and then try to price the properties on an average price per acre and send out 1,000 blind offers. I've never liked that because a property that's on the lake is going to be worth a lot more than a property that is 2 miles away from the lake, right?
Right.
And if you're using a formula to create a blanket offer for all of these properties in this zip code or in this county, you're going to send a lot of really low ball offers and a lot of really high offers. And I just never have liked that. So I brought over from houses. Well, what did we do? Well, one of the first ways I got started was sending people a postcard that drove them to a 24-hour recorded voicemail. So I talked to this guy who was doing a lot of land deals, and he was doing the same thing. So he would send out a letter telling people to call this voicemail. No, he was actually using a live answering service. And I thought, I don't want to spend the money on a live answering service. But I started thinking, wouldn't it be better if we just send a postcard or a letter to people saying, hey, text or call this 24-hour recorded voicemail? Because I used to do that with houses. And so I sent out letters and postcards, and I use FreedomSoft. It's my favorite tool. And I have my custom signature edition of FreedomSoft. It's my favorite cup. And it's like an all-in-one solution thing there. So anyway, I send out I get my list of vacant landowners in certain zip codes, click a few buttons, and I send them 100, 1,000 postcards or whatever. And it's a simple, ugly postcard that says, text, if you want to sell your land, text or call this 24-hour recorded voicemail. And so I get a lot more calls when I do that. I don't send them a QR code. I don't send them to a website. I don't give them a fax number, nothing. I just say, text or call this 24-hour recorded voicemail. I say on there, nobody will answer. So I get much higher response rates with that. And when they call, guess what? I capture their phone number, right? So now I can call them back. I can follow up with them. So, you get, maybe 75% of all the calls that come in will either leave a message or text me the reference ID on that postcard. So I got that idea from this guy. He says, because, vacant land doesn't have an address. The APN number or the parcel ID is really long. And the GPS coordinates are so you don't want to ask the seller to kind of give you their parcel ID. You give them a reference number. So then the postcard has a reference number in the upper corner, and the voicemail says, hey, thanks for calling. If you want to sell your land, leave your name and number at the tone and give us the reference ID, and we'll send you an offer. So I didn't want to call them back and talk to them and negotiate with them, right? And unless we're in the same ballpark. So they would call, they would get the postcard, they'd call the voicemail, and my son would be the one to do the outbound voicemail. And so they would listen to him, and they would either text back or they'd leave a voicemail. If they didn't leave a voicemail, the system, FreedomSoft, sends them a text back automatically saying, hey, thanks for calling. What was that reference number on that postcard we sent? And so it's a 50-50 mix. 50% will leave a voicemail, 50% will text back the reference ID. And then we say, okay, thanks. We'll text them back. What's your email address? We'll send you an offer. And if they give us their email, now we have the phone number and the email address of this vacant landowner. So then what my boys would do is they would just go to Zillow or Redfin and find out, okay, in that area, then this is when we price the properties, right? Not at the beginning. That just takes way too much time and too much work. But we now price the properties as they come in. So we can look at the property on Google Maps and see, okay, is it on the lake? Is it next to a highway? Is it a weird lot size? Is it landlocked? Is it in a floodplain or flood zones or whatever? And we would figure out, okay, what could we sell the property for quickly in 1 or 2 months? So if everything is selling for 30 grand, we're going to price our property for 25 grand, and we're going to send an offer at 40% of that. That was our formula getting started. It was simple as that. Yep. So everything else selling for 30, we're going to sell ours for 25. And if I get my calculator, 25,000 times 0.4, we would offer $10,000. And we would send a 1-page letter and an offer, like a 2-page document, 1-page cover letter, 1-page contract. And we would get our numbers were 1 out of every 25 to 30 offers gets accepted. All right. But this is the magic that most people forget. We would send that initial offer, and then with FreedomSoft, we would do it all inside of FreedomSoft. We would handle the voicemails, send the offers, but then we put them into an automated follow-up. And people forget this. This is where 75, 85% of your deals come from. So we would send them an offer. We haven't talked to them yet, right? We'd send them an offer in the physical mail and in an email and by text. We'd send them an offer. And then we set it up where the system follows up with them 9 days later with a ringless voicemail, with a text, with an email. Hey, did you get the offer? Right? And sometimes they don't respond. And so I would say maybe 75, 85% of the people don't respond on that first letter, that offer we send to them. Sometimes they call back and they're mad. What a stupid offer. They yell at us. Great, fine, whatever. Sometimes they just don't respond. Sometimes they'll say, you know what? I can't take $7,500. I can't take $10,000, but I could do 12, or I don't want to wait 90 days, but I can do it in 30 days or whatever. So sometimes they call to negotiate,
right?
Which is great. We take those calls. But then here's the thing. This is so important. If they don't respond, guess what we do? We send them a text and an email, and a voicemail, ringless voicemail, 9 days later. But we send them an offer again 30 days later. And we do the same process every 30 days. We send them another offer. We send them a ringless voicemail, a text, an email. Hey, did you get our offer? Just follow it up.
Offering the same.
Yes. And then now what we're doing is we've added some things now, and maybe the third or fourth offer, we're sending them a 2-option letter of intent. We're saying, hey, we'll pay you cash. We'll pay you 10 grand cash, or we'll pay you 15 grand with owner financing, with payments over time, And so we just keep on following up. Now, after about 4 months or so, we maybe stop sending offers, but we'll just send a postcard, a letter. We send a check letter. We just keep on alternating this follow-up. And I'm not here to pitch FreedomSoft, but I am, because you can set up all of this automated follow-up forever if you wanted to. I usually do about a year. And then when they call me back, then I can stop the follow-up, right? They might say, hey, stop contacting me, whatever. But it's just a numbers game. So I know if I send 30 offers, I'm going to get one accepted. But that's after all of the follow-up, right? And making sure I'm consistently doing the marketing. And on average, we found we get one deal out of every about 20 to 30 offers. Our numbers have gotten better, but I know it's going to take on average of 7 to 8 touches over 2 to 3 months of follow-up. 2 to 3 months on average, 7 to 8 touches. That could be a text, an email, a letter, ringless voicemail. And you could set all of this up. I get so excited about this. A VA or your kids can do all of this for you, right? And I don't need a live answering service. I don't need to talk to people. I'm only talking to people after they get my offer. Beautiful. I love it.
Yeah. So, Joe, who's buying land? I mean, if it's an infill lot, it's probably typically, I guess, probably a neighbor or a builder is my guess, is the most common. Is that right?
No, it's usually just investors. We sell a lot of our. Now, remember, we don't have problems finding buyers for 2 reasons. Number one, we are only going into the areas where there already are a lot of buyers, right? That's number one. And number two, we are buying them so cheap and we're selling them cheap. So, my philosophy is I want to put my house, when I put my house on the market, I want to make everybody else mad who's got houses listed for sale in that area. I want to be the cheapest, biggest property on the market there. So I'm real conservative with that. And so when they see my property that's cheaper than everybody else's, we tend to sell them really quickly. I'm not trying to get greedy. I just want to make a quick 5-10 grand. And in some markets that are more competitive, I'm okay with just making a quick 3 to 5 grand, right? Make a few phone calls, send a few texts, and bam, I can just do a quick assignment and be done and out of the deal. So it just depends kind of on what market that you're in. It's easier to do assignments in Florida, in other states where it's illegal, immoral, and fattening to do wholesaling, then I'm going to take it down, right? And then I'm going to turn around and relist it and resell it with a realtor, right? But I don't have problems selling my deals because number one, again, I'm only going in the areas where there's already a bunch of buyers. And number two, I am selling these deals at the cheapest prices available in those areas. So a lot of times we can sell our deals with just skip tracing and calling at recent buyers that are buying land there. We call the neighbors. And I like to send sometimes a postcard or a letter to the buyers that are buying land in the area, pretending to be this desperate, motivated seller that help. I'm desperate. This is urgent. I really need to sell my property. Please call me. I'm desperate. And I send that letter to nearby buyers that are buying land. Does that make sense?
Yeah. But that assumes they're repeat buyers. Is that common for recreational land? Is there like repeat buyers that are me, like, hey, I want to add on, I might as well bolt on every property next to me that I can find?
So there's a lot of buyers that, they're just taking their money for whatever reason out of the stock market. They just want to invest in land. Some of them are home builders, but a lot of them, especially in Florida, they're just people that they just want to park their money somewhere. They're diversifying, right? They're getting out of crypto or they're getting out of the stock market and they just want to buy real estate. They want to buy land because there's nothing that you can't destroy land, right?
Right.
And some people will buy it and turn around and sell it on owner financing. Some people will just buy it to hold it for 20, 30 years. There's a lot of reasons why.
Yeah. I think when it's like some sort of rite of passage. I think when you get older, you're like, I got to own land. And you're like, then you have like, I need more of it. That's what I'm going through. I might have an addiction, Joe. I haven't bought anything else, but I'm open.
I'm going to add you to my buyer's list.
Yeah. If you find anything, I'll give you the address of my property in Texas. If you find anything around it, like I'm your man.
There you go. I'm telling you, all of this, people in Canada, people in Europe, who I get a lot of people that are outside of the United States that I teach on how to do this stuff. And they're blown away by how much information is available in our public records in the United States. So I can go into any zip code or county and I can say, all right, give me a list of all the people that live outside of this area that have bought more than 6 properties in the last 6 months, vacant lots. And I can get a list of 20, 50, 100 different investors. And I can go into that list and I can say, all right, well, show me all the ones that own more than 10 properties already, or who have bought more than 10 in the last 6 months. And you can find who these people are. Some of them are home builders. Some of them are just investors. Some of them are mom and pop, and you can reach out to them and contact them. But I have found sometimes the easiest way to sell them is just list them on the MLS. Get a realtor to list them. And even though you have to pay commissions, even though you have to take the property down and maybe use some of your own money or use a private investor's money, you still make more profit because you're putting it out there in the open market for everybody to see.
That's one of the things that allows you to do it virtually, right? If you had to go build a buyer's list in every market or every place you get land, that would be a pain in the ass.
Oh, man. So how do you find the realtors that can sell your property? Well, you just go to Zillow and you say, show me the vacant land sold in the last 6 months in this area. And you'll get a list of 15 to 20 or 30 different realtors that have sold vacant land recently in that area. And you just call them. It's the easiest thing in the world to do.
Yeah, that's awesome. Joe, we could talk all day long and I'd love to, I love hanging out with you. If folks want to learn how to flip dirt and not houses, I know you're doing a 5-day challenge now. So how do folks tell us a little bit about what that's about, and then where do folks get signed up for that?
Well, if you just go to flipdirtchallenge.com, flipdirtchallenge.com. I do this challenge every week. It's a 5-day challenge. It teaches you how to find these deals, you can do free marketing or cheap marketing to find sellers, how to find the buyers, how to make the offers. I talk about how to pick the right markets, and it's all done in a real simple 5-day type of a challenge. And by the end, you're going to know how to flip vacant land. It's super simple. There's no secret sauce. It's no magic formula. Anybody can do this.
It's just following a process, right?
Yeah. Flipdirtchallenge.com. It's free.
Yeah.
Did I say that? It's free.
That's a free challenge. That's awesome.
Yeah. Now I do sell a program at the end of it. We have a community. I just want to do more deals. And so I have a lot of people that bring me deals to partner with them on. I either lend money on the deals or I partner with them on the deals. We'll do all the work, split the profits at the end. So that's kind of why I'm doing this. And, but so there will be an offer. If, like, the way I do it is on day 4, if you want to hear more about the offer, we do a separate breakout session where you can hear about the offer. So it's not a pitch fest. If you want to hear more about the offer, you can, go to the special link to view the separate breakout session. And then at that point, I'll talk about it, tell you about it. You're either in or out. Basically, I've set up a program where we'll partner with you on deals. We provide all the money. We provide all of the software. We provide the leads. We'll do your marketing for you. At least your first direct mail campaign, we'll do that for you. And I do this crazy thing. It's called the Business Completion Challenge. So when you go through my program and you make at least 100 offers in 6 months, that's only 3 or 4 offers a week, we'll refund all your money, even if you don't do a deal. And that's just a way for me to give back. It's a way for me that's how much I believe in this system. And I do that because I'm looking for people to bring me deals. One of the ways I do deals is by selling this program. And so you put in the work. If you make at least 100 offers and document it to us, even if you don't get a deal accepted, we'll refund all your money. It's really cool.
Cool. So flipdirtchallenge.com. We'll put a link down below in the show notes. So Joe, thanks for spending some time with us today.
Yeah, Mike, thank you so much, man. It's been fun.
Yeah. Always good to see you. Guys, there's a lot of ways to make money in real estate. It doesn't have to be houses. It can also be dirt or land, or there's lots of other asset classes out there. But I don't know who said this quote, but they said something about land. They're not making it anymore. Is that true, Joe?
Yes.
Are they making any more land, or is this it?
They are not making any more land.
That's all we got.
That's right.
But
by the way, too, you can get my book, Flip Dirt, Not Houses, at Amazon. Just go to Amazon, and it's like, I don't remember, $5-10.
Yeah. We'll add a link down in the show notes for your book as well. So awesome, Joe. Good to see you, buddy.
Thank you, Mike. Have a good one.
Everybody, hope you enjoyed today's show. There's a lot of ways to make money in real estate. And one thing I know about Joe is he's very good at creating systems and processes, and very methodical in an approach. And I think that's a lot of us aspire to kind of have that in place. So you don't have to build it yourself. You can learn from Joe. So appreciate you guys. Check out this link down below, and we'll see you on the next show.
We'll see you.
Thanks for joining us for today's show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing on your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. You can also check out the show's notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and even how to work with me directly one-on-one. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. See you on the next show.